Hello, everyone. I'm Emanuel Pastreich, president of the Asia Institute, and I ran as a candidate for president in the Green Party US. I'm very honored today to have Ararat Konstantin, excuse me, Ararat maybe I should start all over.
Kostanian.
Kostanian. So let's do it all over again, but let me make sure I get it right. Konstanian. Ararat
Yes.
Kostanian is okay?
Yes.
Okay, maybe not. Wait 1 second. What happened to my text? I lost my text. Doesn't want to let me do it. Uh, I'm sorry. Okay. So now, Zoom. Lost the whole thing. Okay. So hello, everyone. My name is Emanuel Pastreich, president of the Asia Institute in Tokyo, Seoul, and Washington, D.C. And I was also a candidate for president of the Green Party US. I'm honored today to have Ararat Kostanian, who's an expert on the Middle East and in Central Asian politics. And today we're going to talk about a critical issue, intellect and anti-intellectualism, or as I like to say more grandiosely, the treason of the intellectuals and the abolition of scientific inquiry. So thank you for joining me, Ararat.
Hello, Mr. Pastreich. It's great to see you again. Thank you for the invitation. It's a privilege for me.
So tell me, when you look at this trend towards the dumbing down of universities, dumbing down of students, the decay of the process of investigating truth in a philosophical and scientific way, and finally the decay of journalism as a means of informing citizens about what's really happening in the world, as opposed to fantasy stories. What do you think is behind this tremendous shift we see?
Actually, such an inquiry came to my mind first when the COVID era started. I was having a positive assumption that after that tragedy we all lived in, and when we closed down and all the psychological impact that affected negatively to the human beings, we were expecting that the intellectual elites, scholars, will not only criticize what coming from government, but also in terms of decisions, but also they will take the lead on the ground to bring some positive, new ideas, or giving hope that it will be better. But what we have seen, we haven't seen the scholars, we haven't seen the intellectuals in the arena on the ground. Instead, we have seen the same realist politics, the same continuation of wars, the same divide and rule, or expand, which is I'm not criticizing. I'm just talking what we have seen in reality, and we are continuing to see the same scenarios. The question came to my mind where we are.
Right.
We are not talking about geopolitics or geoeconomics here. We are purely talking about where are the scholars and the intellectuals that previously, even during, I wasn't born that time, but what we have read and what we see from movies, from newspapers, from books, even during the bipolar confrontation between the Soviet Union and the United States, there was clearly from both sides the role of the elite, the scholar academic elite, when they called in Soviet Union intelligentsia. In US, they just called the scholars, the academics, and etc. They had their role. I'm not against that the scholar should have his or her political own ideas or positions. I'm not talking about politics here, but where are the people today in generating hope, in bringing positive psychological solutions to the ordinary people? Instead, we are, as I have mentioned, we are seeing the continuation of anarchic system and the realist wars. We are seeing the celebrities that took instead of the academia. Today, celebrities, they can make in Hollywood or elsewhere more impact than scholars such as me and you, I will be fair, and the others.
Well,
so
there's a whole class. There's a whole class of these, celebrity professors, celebrity scholars who, although they're often not at all qualified, are the ones that are always in the newspaper and who are sort of propped up as these sort of like leaders, thought leaders, public intellectuals.
Of course, there are also the pop academics. I'm not talking about them. At least they are doing something. I'm talking about the total elimination. It's not even minimization. The role of academic and just a rapper or an actor shaping and giving ideas and shaping the mindset of the population today. But we have reduced to the level that we only have the role to deliver the information. And here is another problem which is rising now. You can come up with the question, all right, if this scholar or scholars or academics are to lecture the students and just transform the information that are in books or in academic books, then today we have Wikipedia, and today we have Chat GPT and the rest. So after a few years, after 10 years or after 15 years, the question will arise that why we are opening universities, why we are launching universities, why we are hiring scholars when we have the Chat GPT, or even we have today anchors that they are robots. So here is the problem. If you minimize the role of the scholar only by delivering the knowledge without his role as a person who can give ideas, who can mentor the youngsters, who can inspire, who can leader, who can mentor. Here is the big problem of academic importance or essentiality of our work today in global level. So this is one direction that I'm raising the question, and coming the big question, to whom the scholar is needed today, and what will happen after 15 years if our duty today only minimized to just delivering the knowledge, what is written in the books and in magazines and etc. The other issue that I'm concerned, the publications. Again, the global publications, the most famous publications, if we look at in academic life, there are few. We have a lot of journals, we have a lot of bulletins, we have a lot of book publication organizations, but we know that few are the most famous and few are monopolizing the market. I'm not saying that in a bad way. But they have the most citation mechanisms and etc. and the trust from the reader. But here arising another question: why academia turned or took the role of media, or the other question, why academia, publication, journal book publication industry turned into, in a way, of propaganda machine.
Right.
For example, previously, if we have looked all the publications published in famous journals from the era post 9/11, Iraq invasion,
Right.
until the war in Syria, and now the war in Ukraine, we can realize that in every era, most of the publications, most of the articles are getting acceptance for publication. It's related to the wars, it's related to the geopolitical and economic outcomes or causes of that war,
Right.
by eliminating and reducing other factors which are talking about, for example, peace or even peaceful resolution, or even cases that was not related with war and peace, but related to culture and social and art and other aspects of humanities. So why the focus is merely, or in a big sense, on defense studies, geopolitical studies, political economic studies? Of course, now you can bring the argument, the counter argument, that you are talking about political science. Of course, the issues will be related to political science. Yes, I'm not against that idea. Of course, in the Journal of Political Science, you will not write about Chinese opera. But what's the point here? Why political science teams are not even talking about, for example, peace resolutions or models that can bring peace? Instead, the more interest on how continuation of war, or how finding methods to expand our influences by waging war, and or by military power or economic power or even political power, which is the realist school. My concern is why in academia today, realist school is monopolizing the scene of article and book publications. I might be a little bit exaggerating, but I cannot now say quantitatively the percentage and everything, because I'm not a researcher on this field. But I can assure that if you go and follow up monthly publications, yearly publications, the journals and the books, you will see, as I said, the focus is on either geopolitical issues, geopolitical and economic, or war. So my issue, that why we are not talking today more about the similarities that human nature have, and I'm not saying that we should write something that might feel or might be understood, translated as utopian, but in real world, in countries that there are conflicts, but at the same time there are models and there are realities that people of different faith and people of different ethnicities, they are working peacefully together. I mean, the great example, for example, Indonesia. When we hear about Indonesia, we lately positively the issue that, because the area is in huge development, Southeast Asia, as everybody's focused again economically on this area. That's why now we are hearing many positive issues about especially fast developing countries in this area. For example, Indonesia, Vietnam, and etc. We've been hearing about Malaysia, Singapore for many years. But why, if we put aside the economic development, why, when example outside Indonesia, when we mention Indonesia, or when you mention Indonesia, the first thing will come, oh, it's a Muslim country, it's an Islamic country. But first of all, it's not Islamic country, it's a Muslim majority country. But at the same time, they have the religious and many ethnic minorities that living peacefully all these years together. And now I'm observing on the ground, and I'm getting the knowledge, and at the same time I'm getting the aspiration that why these positive experiences that has been on the ground is not being articulated enough from academics and from also the media. Of course, I know many publications that they are talking about this, but I'm taking the big picture, that why there is no focus on such topic, that there are good examples also on the ground, and why we are not taking this more seriously to bring the reality into a theoretic platform and creating a new theory or advancing the previous theories that we had in academia. I mean, this is my point, why our brain is like automatically formatted to how to hunt down Al-Qaeda and Bin Laden, but we don't have enough focus on positive issues that people have created, in most of the times not even governments, but people have created the methods and mechanism how to live together peacefully and justly. So our duty, I think, the academics, scholars, if we could pay more attention to such models as a case studies that has been a reality on the ground, it's not utopian, and why we cannot focus on that to create more theories based on how to expand these peaceful experiences to other regions in the world.
Right. Well, I certainly feel great sympathy with this perspective. As a professor, I started in 1997 teaching, and then I was at the University of Illinois from 1998, and I watched how journals became more and more narrow. The journals that were accepted as sort of legitimate, it used to be in the old days based upon the quality of your paper, right? And then increasingly it was the name recognition of the particular journal, and then the journals that were recognized in economics, social sciences, international relations, security, mushroomed, and the number of journals covering humanities, anthropology, philosophy, and other things shrunk. So there are almost no journals left. In the case of Korean studies, for example, Japanese studies, there are only a handful. I remember I had the experience when I was in Korea. I was a professor. They were evaluating me based on my SSCI publications. This sort of random assumption. We found that it was almost impossible to get articles in the journals because the major journals, say in Chinese studies, for example, Chinese literature, they were not considered SSCI. They lost the status because the corporations running the SSCI evaluation and the professionals had decided they didn't count. The quality of the journals didn't go down, but it was determined by third parties. So this allowed for this sort of shift that you're talking about, where security things, where money's to be made, where there's economic activity that benefits people. Then you shift to that because the decisions are not really being made by academics at all, but often by market forces.
Exactly, that's my point. As I have mentioned previously, if that the period was the 9/11 and post 9/11, the wars, if the interest was on Iraq, after that it might shift and go to the Syrian war, and now the shift to Eastern Europe and Ukraine. And now, interestingly, if you write something on Iraq or if you write something on Syria, that might be not in the interest of the market decision makers, and your article might not be even reviewed. I'm not talking yet on publication. So here is the problem that I'm raising. I cannot solve this problem by myself, of course, but I'm also as a scholar, and you as a scholar, and we have same notions on this issue. How is possible, and who will review also our conversation might also think of mechanism that how we can force the academic publication institutions that they shift the track back to consider not the topic in terms of selling, because we are not in a global village. We are in academia, and how we can evaluate the articles that might be published based on the quality, based on the content, not based on the title.
Right. Well, I mean, to some degree, I think it's related to the issue of what the role of the intellectual is in society, right? That whether is a professor, I mean, I guess these are two alternate models, right? Is a professor a professional, right? Like a, I don't know, basketball player or uh, either a celebrity or like a bureaucrat or like a corporate manager, or does the intellectual have a specific social role, which is to pursue the truth, to enlighten students and inspire them, but also to speak to the public, because the public, most people, including elites, don't have specialized knowledge. They don't have the ability to judge, and I feel that we really have lost the role of intellectual in society, and intellectuals have become. I mean, it's sort of like a um, sort of like pro wrestling, right? You get your fans, you try and get in a good team, you get publications, and so the way you win is how many publications you have or what your promotion is. You're not the it's not based upon either pursuit of truth, accurate understanding of the world, and it's not determined by ethical commitment. But I really feel that if truth is not part of the process, if ethical commitment is not a part of the process, then you're not talking about intellectuals anymore. It really, you've lost the qualification.
That was my point in the beginning of our conversation, because the scholars today has turned into a producing machine. Instead of not only educating, but mentoring, leading, directing the people, or in the university, whatever ideology they belong to. I mean, I'm not talking about any ideology. I'm not prioritizing any ideology here. Whether you are left, you are right, you are at the center, that's not my issue. My issue that the intellectual must be brought to its role, because the intellectual has created or gave the enlightenment of industrial and French revolutions, so that what we have the economics today, and we have the technology today. So that has been created, not shaped, but created by us. But today our role has been minimized after economies and technologies advanced to this level. This is not fair, if you agree with me. So so what my concern here is that the scholars should be more engaging and more active and more talkative in issues that we are facing today. And I believe that also, in terms of publications, we have to bring again the tradition to, I don't know what mechanisms could be created, but to force or enforce the publications to publish articles that, as I have mentioned, are equal to the quality of the journal, and not to send the article first to the marketing department and then to the reviewers. So this was my point. Excuse me, I cannot hear you.
Many journals today, if we can imagine, if these journals had existed in the 19th century or earlier, that Darwin's Origin of the Species, Einstein's original papers on special relativity would have been rejected. I mean, they would have been just said this. There's no basis. It doesn't follow our accepted definition of the field. I know in sociology this is out of control now. I mean, you can no longer write in sociology because it's dominated by certain paradigms about the use of statistics, for example, that drive whole groups of sociologists to quit sociology because they don't, there's no space to publish anymore.
Yes, I agree totally. So what I'm thinking, to find a mechanism or to find such scholars which I have seen they are raising this issue continuously.
Right.
So my desire to bring academia, to bring scholars back to his or her track, to liberate academia from media, to liberate academia from celebrities. I don't want to give names, not to credit or discredit someone, right. But it's not fair that we are creating theories, but on the side, a celebrity that has nothing to do with sociology or political science, she right. could just utter 3-4 words on social media, and she could shape imaginations or right. a mindset with millions of followers and likers and lovers and etc. So right. I believe that this issue could be important, because in such cases, when a big crisis happens, such as the pandemic we have seen, or if big wars happen on global scale, right. we are the people. The intellectual is the person who can motivate the people. Not all the time. Another issue also now, it became very famous. Instead of the intellectuals, the psychologists today are right. being invited to talk on politics or social issues. So again, we have to get our field back, I believe. If we could talk more about and find a mechanism, tell you the truth, I don't have the mechanism. This is not my area of specialty, right. But I'm raising the question as an intellectual, so that other intellectuals also can start to think, and maybe together or someone could find any method that our concerns can be put on positive track.
Well, I want to thank you, Ararat, for raising this critical issue in a very succinct manner. And obviously, I'm very committed to the role of the intellectual in making academics and writing about real issues to make it accessible, but also to raise the standards of it. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and hope we can talk very soon again on this general issue, which is the intellectual in society and academics and the intellectual pursuit of truth. Thank you again.
My pleasure, anytime. Thank you for your invitation.